What's up, Dolphin fans? We are here with a team that's building the team in the 2026 NFL Draft. Miami Dolphins, 11 picks this year. Cannot wait for it all, and I cannot wait to talk to my next guest here, Kyle Smith, the assistant GM of your Miami Dolphins. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Good. Appreciate you.
Very happy to have you on here. Just first, how's it going getting your bearings in South Florida? How's your transition going to the new job here in Miami?
It's been good. It's been really smooth. I'm still in a hotel, be locked up in a hotel for until after the draft, but it's really in short order since coming in here. You can find out right away that this is a first-class organization, all the way across the board: football operations, equipment staff, field staff, food. The food's been outstanding. Everyone talks about it. One of the first things they talk about when they get in here, and I believe it. But it's been great.
Just wait till night one of the draft, the spread they get out there.
Yeah, I can't wait every morning for breakfast, man.
That's the best meal,
yeah,
in my opinion.
no doubt.
They knock it out. The eggs Benedict and the French toast today was
whatever they put out there today.
It was off the chart. So take us more into kind of that process, because obviously you're kind of getting your feet wet and getting your bearings here, but also the job is so wide ranging for an assistant GM. Can you just kind of take us through what some of your main duties are here at the Dolphins?
Yeah, I'd say obviously it's both sides, pro and college, scouting and kind of overseeing both departments. But the main job for me is to create clarity, for John Eric and Halfley and the decision makers. Obviously right now we're right in the midst of the draft preparation. But even before that, it was, free agency, and it's going through thorough, process and meetings and grinding through everything. And we've got a really good staff and scouts, both pro and college. So that's really the main job, is obviously the evaluations, overseeing both departments, and doing everything you can to create clarity for decision makers.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Can you take us kind of into the relationship with John Eric and yourself? Because obviously he's spoken very highly of you. I'm sure he's talked about you being a future GM in this league. Just how has that relationship developed from where it was when it first started and to where it is now?
Yeah, we go back a long ways. We kind of, he's been in it a little bit longer than I have, but we kind of cut our teeth together on the road as area scouts. And the way that it works is, as scouts, he obviously was with the Packers. I was with, Washington at first. And you work with other scouts more than you work with your own scouts, because you're out on the road with them. And so we developed a relationship back then. We went from Southwest to Southeast, kept in contact. You always kind of surround yourself with guys that kind of think the same, work the same. We've always shared the same vision. We've always talked about these moments. If one were to get a GM job and the other one's coming with you, and it just so happened to line up for us. So he's a tremendous person, obviously a really good scout and an evaluator, and couldn't be happier to be here with him.
I imagine some of that time on the road provides a lot of value for what the job is now, right? In terms of delegating and working with the staff under you.
Yeah, I think being, anytime you're in personnel, it's, the guys that are working for you, with you, when you've been there and done that, and you're never going to ask guys to do something that you haven't done. And that's a big emphasis from JE and myself. It's, we're never going to ask guys to do stuff that we haven't done at any point. And I think that's a big part of it.
That's a great managerial tool to have right there, for sure. And being in the industry for so long, I'm sure you've learned a lot of different things about aspects of the job. What are some of the key things you picked up along the way that you hope to bring here to the Dolphins?
Yeah, there's so many. I think sometimes we try to keep things simple, and it's take good football players. I know that sounds like obvious statement, but it is. There's a lot of different information that goes into. We're a best player available team, and that's how we'll operate. I know John Eric has talked about that, but there's so much information that goes into either signing a player in free agency or picking a player in the draft. You have all different avenues and data and information, and the scouts' opinions and coaches' opinions and everything. When it boils down to it, you're looking for that alignment, that everybody in the building sees it the same. Your convictions, do they have the character traits that we look for, and is the skill set match what we look for? And you pick the best player that's staring at you on the board.
You talk about that shared aesthetic, right, in terms of getting guys on the same page. How do you go about developing that as a staff? Like, obviously you and John Eric have a big hand in that, but how do you kind of get everyone aligned in terms of this is what we want it to look like and we need to all see it kind of similarly?
Yeah, you try to have everybody, you want everyone's individual opinions. You want groupthink to a point to have the shared vision, but you want individual opinions on the player. You don't want everybody to see it the same. But when you bring, the coaches in, when you bring scouts in, everybody who's talking about the individual player, they're the most important person in the room at that point. And you take everybody's information that they have and you try to do the best you can to collectively come together with that shared vision.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And, part of that is building the draft board, right? And that's one of those things where I'm sure it starts with a massive collection of names back in the summer and August, and now you kind of whittle it down. And one of the questions I was most excited for anybody in this entire process was the lore behind building that draft board. I was hoping you can give us a bit of a look behind the scenes in terms of how that comes together from where it was back in August to where it comes now here coming up with the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's very long process, thorough process, but this is when it really gets fun, is this time of year. But it really starts in the summer before we show up at training camp, in terms of the draft. The area scouts are the first boots on the ground. They put grades on guys and they go through the fall visits, and then we have our February meetings. February meetings, it's really their time, the area scouts, the cross-checkers, to set that board, give their opinion, the profile of the player. They've talked to everybody at every school call about the guy. And then obviously as the baton kind of gets passed, and then we got all-star games, and then we get the combine, and then here come the coaches. So there's all different layers to the massaging of that board up, down, as you get more information and as the clarity starts to build.
And by the time you turn the card in and they get here, you probably feel like the young man pretty well.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you've gone over them so much. Shoot, we just walked out of the meeting right now, and you've gone over these guys so much. But that's why you do it. There always comes a moment of clarity, and that's what I think is the best part of our job, or the most gratifying is it could be in fall visit. You might have that clarity of, this is the guy, he's not moving from the board at this point, and it stays that way all the way through. Or there's guys that it takes a little bit of time. You got to get the all-star games, you got to get the combine, you got to get a coach's vision. But at some point, or you're at the pro day live and you're looking at the guy move around and you find the clarity. At some point that clarity comes, and that's what we're searching for. And by draft night, we'll have clarity on every one of those guys.
And that's why draft season is 365 days a year, as I always say on my podcast.
Yeah.
So you talk about collaboration with the scouting staff. One of my favorite kind of threads to weave is the collaboration between you guys and the coaching staff, because sometimes coaches maybe want more of a football player, sometimes maybe the scouting staff wants the trace, right? You have to find a way to marry that together. Just talk about the ideal collaboration between scouting staff and coaching staff, if you can.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important, because there comes a certain point in the draft or in free agency, depending on the money that you're paying a player. There's a layer in the draft, whether that could be second round one year, it could be fourth round and below the next year. It just varies based on the year. But there comes a point where there aren't the players they can do it all. They might be really good at one thing and not so good at the other, and need development in another aspect. Well, we need the coaches to help us find that vision of how they're going to use this player and what can we develop, because everyone's flawed. We're all flawed, and so are the players. So we got to know the vision from the coaches. Are they going to be put in certain positions to accentuate their strengths and not their weaknesses? So the vision of how the player is going to be used is extremely important.
It's more like we're not drafting the guy for who he is today, but who he's going to be.
Yes, you're always thinking about year one, but we're never discounting down the road and what he's going to be at the end of his contract.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So we talked a lot about John Eric Sullivan and your relationship, but how about some other mentors you've come across in your time in the NFL that have really had a profound impact on you in this job?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to, I've been around some really, elite football people throughout my career. My dad, obviously, A.J. Smith, was a general manager for 10 years in the Chargers, all-time winningest GM in Charger history. So I was born and raised in the personnel side. John Eric was born and raised in the coaching side, obviously with his dad being an elite coach. But even so, a lot of what I believe in, the pillars, your foundations, come from him. He was with the Buffalo Bills and learned under Bill Polian, the Hall of Famer. And then when I got to the league, I started in Washington. Mike Shanahan, Kyle, the tree that's talked about all the time. Kyle Shanahan, LaFleur, all those guys. They were on the coaching side. I was on the personnel side. But to learn under and watch Mike Shanahan coach, was unbelievable. And still, some of the things that he would say, you carry on as you go through the process. But I've been fortunate to be around a lot of really talented football minds.
I get the sense that maybe in first grade, when your teacher asked you to write what you want to be when you grow up, you might have said something about being in football.
Yes. Yeah. No, I thought I was going to be a player for a long time. And then when I found out I wasn't good enough, then it was definitely, following my dad's footsteps.
What's your favorite part of the job?
There's so much, like this time of year, like February meetings and on is really, that's probably my favorite part of the job. The favorite like moments are what we were just talking about earlier. That clarity, when you find that clarity of, okay, this guy's going here on the board and he's staying there, and that's where it is, and you're hoping that it falls a certain way. But it's finding that clarity, because it's not hard. It's not easy, I should say. There's times that you need the full process to go through guys, and you're trying to figure them out. But you always come up with that moment of clarity, and that's what I love about it.
The satisfaction of the culmination of all the work kind of crystallizing there.
No doubt.
Let's conclude with this. We have 7 picks in the top 100 this year, 11 overall. I can't wait for it. Personally, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. What are you most excited about for this year's draft?
I mean, just adding. I mean, we're going to get good football players at every level. It's not just the number. Obviously, the more picks you have, the more shots you have on target and on goal, as they say. More chances you have to hit. But, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have 11. We got 11 going in. We might have less. Maybe we trade up and do all those things, or we gather more for next year. So there's a lot of you got a lot of flexibility when you have that kind of capital. But there's definitely, we're excited about the draft. We're excited about the volume. And how we can impact the team, not only this year, but as we talked about earlier, moving forward.
A lot that can happen for your Miami Dolphins come draft weekend. He's Assistant General Manager Kyle Smith. Kyle, we appreciate your time today, man. Thanks.
Thanks, man.